Welcome to A Cup of Gratitude with Amanda Schaefer. Hi, I'm your host, and I'm so glad you stopped by. This podcast is really for anyone, anywhere, anytime. And it's about taking a moment to slow down and look around and actually see all of the good things that are there. There's no question that asks, is your cup half empty or half full? But I think a better question is, what's in your cup? I mean, a drop of gratitude will benefit your life unimaginably more than a full cup of anything else. So let's settle in and take a look at how we can shift our focus and embrace the joy and the wonder of the life that we have. And once you start, you won't be able to stop seeing the good. And just like me, you won't be able to stop talking about it. And somehow that creates even more. Even in the midst of difficulty, even when it's really hard. Learn how to drink from a cup of gratitude. Welcome. Today we are talking with Karen Stacy. She is a wife, mother, grandmother, and avid Jesus follower. She seeks and finds him in every detail of life and is passionate about sharing her vision with others. A lover of birds, rainbows, anything tiny, and all things home. She's an author, loves interior decorating and design, and enjoys running marathons. Welcome, Karen.
Aw. Hi, Amanda.
How are you?
I'm doing great.
I'm so glad to have you with me today.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
So, I really want to get into this because I already know your story. Can you tell us a little bit? I understand that you're an author, but it was your family who suggested that you publish your book. Can you tell us a bit about how all that happened?
Sure. Yeah, I never intended to be an author. I know a lot of people think about that. I want to write a book someday. I want to write a children's book someday. And that never crossed my mind. When what I did was I wrote a poem for my family for Christmas one year. And when I read it to them, they were like, Mom, you need to make that a book. So I ended up making it a book. The reason I wrote them this poem was, it was at a time when everybody was saying they felt like Christmas is too materialistic. And I really didn't see it that way. I felt like, my gosh, I see Jesus in all of it. I see him in the tree. I see him in the lights. I see him in the gifts. I just see Jesus everywhere. And I really wanted them to see it that way. And I kept anticipating, like, I could just share that with them on Christmas morning, but I could never really gather my thoughts. And this was over a few years. I kept thinking I wanted to share something with them. Finally, I just thought I'd write a poem about it. And that's how it became written. And
Wow.
then they encouraged me to make it a book.
That's amazing. What a cool story.
Yeah.
Have you written poems before? Is that something you've always liked to do?
The only poems I've ever written have actually been for my family when I've had to or wanted to speak in front of like at my son's weddings. I wanted, as the mother of the groom, wanted to be able to share at the rehearsal dinner, and I knew I would be afraid to. So I wrote a poem for my son and my sons and their brides to be, and read those poems as my little speech. So I guess it's a nice way for me to express myself. I have a lot of thoughts, a lot of deep inner things going on, and I think I sometimes have a hard time expressing them.
Yeah.
And so putting it into a poem, I feel like gets a little bit deeper, maybe.
That's really neat. What a beautiful thing to do for your family.
Yeah. Thanks.
And then sharing it, you're welcome. Then sharing it with the world in this book form is pretty cool.
Yeah. I think that it was awesome that they encouraged me to do that. I think, I never would have thought to do it myself. I never would have said, and I'm going to make this a book. I just would never cross my mind. And they just were so blessed by it. And so it was really special that it was something I did for them. And then it was their encouragement to me that made it into something that I can share with everyone.
That is really special. And I know in our talk, you had told me before when we were doing our pre-recording conversation that this kind of had parts about the fruit of the Spirit in it. For those who might not know, what are the fruit of the Spirit?
Yeah, they are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. So, that's just where I see Christ. I see Christ, the fruit of it's his spirit
Mm-hmm.
um, that we are seeing when we see all of those different things. And I was able in that book to connect all of those different things, all the fruits of the spirit, with the various things that we do at Christmas time,
Oh, beautiful.
that people can connect with Jesus on with everything that they're
Yeah.
doing at Christmas.
Oh, what a great idea. They were right. You should have made it a book. That's awesome. So why are the fruit of the spirit important to your perspective for faith? I mean, you started hitting on it with saying that you see that it's a way of
Yeah,
expressing Jesus.
right. It's something that I've been doing within myself for a really long time. And I actually think it started when I was in college. I read a book by Brother Lawrence called, it's like this old classic called Practicing His Presence.
I've read
And
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a foundation book for me. And
Mm-hmm.
it's trying to see God in your everyday life, trying to stay connected to him every single moment. And I think the fruits of the spirit, at the same time, my mom had cross-stitched me this fruits of the spirit cross-stitch and made it a picture, and I had it hanging in my dorm room. And I just connected those things. I felt like the fruits of the spirit are where God is. And if I can, keep the fruits of the spirit in my life and
Mm-hmm.
stay connected to them, then I can stay connected to God and stay connected to Jesus. So I guess.
Yeah. You had told me before that you believe that when we focus on the fruit of the spirit, it helps us stay in Christ. And that
Yeah,
makes so much sense to me.
because they're the fruits of his spirit. It's
Yeah.
all like Jesus, the Holy Spirit, that's the Holy Spirit in us, where all of those, fruits are from, and from Jesus and from God. They're three in one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I never would have really made the connection, but because you've made it, it makes so much sense. It's absolutely true.
hmm And one of the things I love about the verse as it continues after the whole fruits of the spirits are listed, it says, against these things there is no law. And
Mm,
so it's like there's never going to be a law against any of those. You can do any single one, every single one of them, anytime. And you are doing the right thing and walking with God and walking in God's will. And that's kind of what we want to do as Jesus followers, right? We want to
yeah.
with God and follow him and live the way he wants us to live. And sometimes we get confused about, should I do this? Should I do that? Well, is there peace there? Is there love there? Are you acting patient? So I think it's a true test, I guess, if you're trying to see, am I in God's will?
Yeah.
Are fruits of his spirit there?
Yeah. That's powerful. That's powerful.
Mhm.
And you're saying it in a way that's tangible and concrete enough for people to kind of take with them from this conversation and apply to their own life.
That's awesome. It's just the way I've been trying to do it myself. I never really talked about it. It's funny because that's the first time I've ever really had a conversation with anybody about doing it that way. And even though I wrote a book that connects the fruits of the spirit to all things Christmas,
Hmm.
it's that's just the way I've done it for so long, I guess, that I am trying to, maybe now is a good time to share that with others to do too.
Absolutely. And for those people listening, it's interesting because we met on Instagram.
Yes.
And connected there and believed many of the same things, and you started listening to my podcast, and then I asked you to come on. So obviously God wanted you to share this with the world, and it's really cool the way that he brought that to you.
No, thanks. It's a blessing to be here and share it.
Oh, it's a blessing to have this conversation with you. So when you wrote your book, you said that and I'm doing air quotes here, guys, you just wrote a poem. But God had bigger plans for it.
Yeah.
Why do you think God wanted to use you?
Hmm. Well, I mean, I guess I feel like God wants to use everyone.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that. And um, seeing it as just a poem, I guess, is that's all it was at the beginning, was just a poem. And then God had bigger plans for it,
Yeah.
and I think that um, it's probably a really good thing that I didn't know that, because I don't know, I would have felt a lot of pressure to
Yeah.
make it something more than just me being myself. And I was
Yeah.
just trying to be myself with my family. And I think sometimes he uses those things in bigger ways than what he just uses us being ourselves if we're walking with him.
Absolutely. I do think that's
Good.
why he used this, because
Yeah.
you were being genuinely who you are, and you were doing a loving, kind thing that you thought a lot about. You said it, well, you didn't do it the first year that you thought
Oh,
of it.
it took me 3 years to actually
Yeah.
write it.
Yeah. So it's something that really you had thought about it, you knew that this is what you believed, and you wanted to share it with people that you loved.
Hmm. Yes.
That's beautiful. You started your own publishing company, a Little Bird Press. Why did you name it that?
Little Bird is a name that I was, air quotes, given when I was on a retreat. It was an experience that I had where I felt like God was telling me I was a little bird, and he was going to pick me up, scoop me up, dust me off, and send me away to fly. Um,
Wow.
and so birds ever since then, I mean, I don't know, maybe even before then, I've always felt a connection to birds, and he comes to me in all these different sweet little beautiful ways,
Yeah.
unexpectedly, through birds. So when I was first trying to come up with a name for the publishing company, I was feeling like it needed to be really professional and all of that, and it was getting frustrated. I couldn't figure out a professional name for it, and then God just said, embrace the child in you. So that's
Wow.
where the little bird came from. Just, it doesn't sound super professional, but it's totally me. The logo is super cute, and that's just who I am. That's the little child in me, the child in me that walks hand in hand with him every day, even though I'm a grown 57-year-old woman. I still
Yeah.
have that child of God that's walking with him and needs his guidance every day.
Wow. I love that. I love that. What was it like to set up a company? I mean, I know what my experience was like, but what was that like for you?
Oh, a lot of hard work, but also fun. At the same time, it was fun. I mean, if you ask my husband, he'd probably say it was horrible because it was stressful to me.
Yeah.
I got stressed out thinking I was doing it wrong, and what if I do it wrong? And it was a great journey for me in just doing that, walking with God, asking him for guidance, asking him for help, and figuring things out. Nowadays I had to do that joining Instagram thing because that's what was recommended to me, and to get a social platform to have people find me and stuff.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? I got to do that. And now I'm having so much fun with it. And here I met somebody like you, and it's been a great experience, but a lot of hard work. It's taxed my brain quite a bit trying to figure all of it out.
Yeah, actually, being somebody, I'm also going to be 57 really soon in May. And like, what is it like for you being in your 50s, stepping into this world of younger people? I mean, yeah, it's fun, but
Yeah, I mean, it brings out all my insecurities, I guess. And then I have to go back to the fruits of the spirit, hang on to, the joy of it, and bring me to peace, God, bring me some peace, and stuff like that. But it's not easy because you feel like you just don't fit in. I think,
yeah,
and that was one of the wonderful reasons I was so happy to find you. And I found many other women our age doing it too. And it's
yeah,
inspiring. But
it is. It's like a whole new thing for us,
yeah,
though. And they grew up knowing how to do it.
right.
But it is wonderful. I've met so many great people, and there are a lot of people our age doing something new right now and using
Yeah,
social media to get it out there.
right, right. Yeah, sometimes I think it's just I should have done this a long time ago. Why am I doing this now? But I think it's really good for me. I think it's challenging, uh,
Yes.
but good.
Yes. And it's always a good idea to try something new. And especially when you're doing something for God's kingdom.
Right.
Because right now, out of all the different platforms and things that we could choose, using the internet is an amazing thing. I always say
It really
when I
is.
talk about it, I both hate the internet and I love the internet.
Hmm.
There's so many things I dislike about how it's used, but I've been doing this podcast for just a couple of months. It's in 21 countries. How
That's
else?
awesome. That is so awesome.
Yeah, and that's God directing it, but using this platform that can get it out places where I never could do by
Right.
myself.
Right.
And the same thing with trying with selling your books. So, I'm going to be sharing some of your information later in the show notes, and people will be able to go into your website and they'd be able to purchase your book. But you're actually working on a new book idea.
Yeah.
Would you tell
And
us about that?
that didn't come until, quite a while after trying to get the first book out, which was a couple years ago. Um, with the fruits of the spirit, when I wrote the poem, I didn't use the last fruit of the spirit, self-control. I wasn't thinking I needed it, just didn't fit. Let's put it that way. And I wasn't thinking I had a book that I needed that everyone in the world or whatever was going to be reading this, and they're going to say, but you
Right,
forgot the fruit of the spirit, self-control. So
right,
I've been thinking, you know what? I could do a whole book with self-control. It would be, the same type of format, because it's a picture book. It's a beautiful illustrated picture book. And
hmm
I thought I could do a whole one on self-control called Controlling Christmas. This one is called Seeing Christmas, which is
hmm
basically seeing Jesus in all of it. And then I could call it Controlling Christmas, and it could be all about self-control and how do we but it would be also another poem. It would be in very similar cadence of what Seeing Christmas was written. And
Okay.
I've put some time into it because it's an idea that God popped in my head. And so I started working on it. But right now, I kind of set it aside for a little bit of time because I'm just trying to figure out a way to get more, get Seeing Christmas out there more
Right,
first, and
right.
then add to it.
Yeah, I mean, do you find it challenging, being a self-published, you have your own company, you wrote the book. Do you find it challenging finding the ways to get people to
Mhm.
understand how to get your book?
Yes. Yeah, because you know what? I didn't put it on Amazon. That was one thing that I felt like God said very clearly to me at the time was
Mhm,
to start local and support local. So
mhm,
I just had it for sale in a lot of local shops, and then local shops in other states, like where my mom lives, where my sister lives. And um, but yes, I think most people expect to just be able to go on Amazon and get a book, any book. And
yeah,
I just didn't want to do it that way. I wanted to, and I felt like God was saying, just start local and support local. So that's the way that I've been doing it. And I think it's been a really good way of doing it for me.
mhm.
So I do have it as an ebook on Amazon now. That is one thing that I added. Um, but so far, I'm just trying to get them sold myself. So
Right. I guess with the pandemic, it might have hindered a little bit
it
with,
did.
small bookstores.
Yeah. And it wasn't because like the small bookstores, all of the ones that were still existing carried it again for the second year, but there was quite a few stores that just didn't even make it, that they had to shut down, close their
Yeah,
doors.
yeah.
So yeah, it was a rough year for that for many people.
Okay, well, I'll be praying for you because I know it really is a challenge. And even though I did put mine on Amazon as well as Barnes and Noble and other
Hmm.
booksellers, that it could be purchased online. It's
Hmm.
still I have trouble personally with. I don't feel like God wants me to be trying to sell it all the time. I feel
Yeah.
like in my case that he had very particular people that had a heart ready for what I shared. He asked me
Hmm.
to share it. I shared it. But it's also been used in ways I never would have. I would have used it. Somebody
Right.
bought a few copies and then ended up giving them out to people
It's
that,
awesome.
yeah, so you never really know. And so I'll be praying that those types of things come to you, things that you didn't expect, so you can share the
Thank,
book with more people.
thank you.
Also, all of you who are listening, again, you're going to have a way to get into Karen's site so that you could buy the book or buy a copy for someone else for Christmas, because it's going to be, by the time this comes out, it'll be still spring. You have nice early Christmas presents.
Mhm. That's right. It's never too early to shop for Christmas, right?
Never too early. So when we were talking before, you really seem to me to be somebody who's an encourager. Would you call yourself an encourager?
I would definitely. I think I'm an encourager because I need encouragement, and so it's like I'm just kind of doing what I feel that I need. I definitely, words of affirmation are my love language,
Yeah.
and that's very encouraging to me. So I just naturally want to encourage others. Like I see people doing great things, I want to encourage them, or if things aren't going well, I want to encourage them. It's just something that I think God has put in me because it's something
Well,
that I do.
it's a beautiful quality to have. There's no better thing, as far as I'm concerned, to be than to be an encourager, especially, when you're a mother, you're a grandmother, you're an author. So he's given you all these different places to do that in a natural way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's just so much struggle in the world. People,
Yes.
there's just struggling. Everybody's struggling, and everybody is having hard times. And I just think we need to lift each other up. We need to keep building each other up and lifting each other up. And
Yeah. I mean, the key is love, right?
hmm
And you're
yes.
you're someone who doesn't want to give advice, but simply love others.
hmm hmm
So how does that look in your everyday life?
As far as not giving advice and loving others,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, I think I just don't. The way I experience it is, if I'm struggling and someone comes along and gives me advice, it doesn't usually help me inwardly. It's just the encouraging words that are telling me, I'm here for you. Or maybe if they've been through it before, they can share their story with me of what
Mm-hmm.
they struggled with. So that's what I like to try to do, rather than, if somebody's struggling, I'm not going to give them advice. I'm going to, if I've been there before, share
Yeah.
my, here, here's, I feel for you. I've been there. This is what happened. Here's how I handled that. But it's
Yeah.
the same thing just kind of rubs me the wrong way. And I think it's because I've done it wrong in the past,
Yeah.
where I tried to give advice to somebody that I didn't even know, like I hadn't been through what they had been going through. And then I'm trying to give them advice, and it really wasn't helpful to them. And it can make, it can really put a distance between you and another person, versus just trying to love them and walk with them, and um, not advise unless they're asking for advice. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
you're a mom. What'd you do when this happened with your children? Then that they're asking for advice. But I guess it's like I hesitate, or actually try to hesitate to offer too much advice to people unless they're asking for it.
I think that's really wise.
Mhm.
You can't go wrong with coming alongside someone, being a good listener, being an encourager, and just allowing them to sit with whatever's happening and be there with them, versus coming right in with guns blazing, telling them what they should do. I would imagine that could put a lot
Right.
of distance. Yeah.
Right. It's kind of that natural reflex to want to fix when someone is struggling. Um, I know it is for me anyway,
Yeah.
but I work hard at trying not to do that, and just to try to love and be there and encourage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we can't fix things for other people, but you're right. That is a natural inclination because you do care.
And it's hard to watch people suffer.
It is. It is. So speaking of watching people suffering and the kind of crazy year, I would say it's not just a year anymore, a year and a half that we've had with the pandemic. How
Mhm.
has the pandemic affected you and your family?
It has been really hard on our family. My family consists of my four sons and three daughter-in-laws and eight grandchildren.
Wow.
And yeah, we're not all navigating COVID in the same way. We're not all comfortable with the same things.
That happens a lot.
And we are a family that typically is together a lot as an extended family.
Mhm.
Um, and this has made it really difficult because it starts to feel like you're not a family anymore, for
Yeah.
me, because this is my, each of them has their own little families, but um and they're experiencing family that way. But for me, it's been hard, because it feels like we're kind of getting all splintered out, like we're separated and not getting
Yeah.
together. um but so yeah, I would say it's been pretty difficult. I'm seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, though. I'm so thankful.
That's awesome.
Yes, yes.
Are people starting to get vaccines and different things?
Yes, yes. Almost all of us adults have gotten the vaccine, at least one dose now, and lots of us have had two doses, and we're
That's great.
getting close to being able to do a family gathering up north together, which will be awesome. And then our son that lives in Texas is probably going to be coming here with his family soon too. So
That's exciting. That's great.
yeah. But during that time, I mean, it's been a long time to be going through this. Everybody's not agreeing with everybody, and having to learn to communicate and
Yeah.
be patient with each other. Um,
Yeah.
so
You've gotten a chance to practice some of the fruit of the spirit, huh?
absolutely.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, most people know my situation. My son and I moved in with my parents to take care of them during the pandemic, and then, we're trying to keep them safe. So my life and my son's life changed a lot. We had to make different decisions, but then you have other family not living here who have their ideas of what we should be doing or not doing, and they all mean well, but
Right,
it's a lot. It's just navigating a whole new world.
right. It really is. It's given us all great opportunity to really love each other in a way that doesn't feel like it used to. what
Yeah.
what what really is love, and it is self-sacrificing. It's doing things that you wouldn't necessarily want to do,
Yeah.
um, to accommodate someone else and how they're doing and how they're feeling, or to be patient with someone when they think differently than you. And yeah,
Yeah. And, I mean, we all can say we know that that's biblical and we know that that's how we want to love people, but these types of situations really stretch us in learning how to do it.
absolutely.
Yeah. Now, you said something powerful to me in our pre recording call. You said that your goal is to love people in their mess. I love that. Can you share a bit about that with us?
Yeah, I think it fits along, with what we were just talking about, that we're just all different in the way that we are in the world.
Yeah.
And you can't, that whole trying to fix someone or trying to change someone, and all of that, it just doesn't work. But loving people in the middle of everything that they're going through,
Hmm.
uh, whatever their struggles or ups and downs in life are, just loving them in it, being with them in it, I think is what actually does work, because
Yeah,
that's what Jesus did. He was with people in their stuff, um,
that's right.
and I think he wants us to do the same.
That's right. And that consistency that only love can bring,
Hmm.
that no matter whether you're in your up or you're down, you're in your valley or your mountain, I'm consistently loving you.
Hmm.
It kind of proves that our love is really love.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's really beautiful. And I admire how much thought you've put into building relationships and building bridges and actively trying to walk in the fruit of the Spirit. It's
No,
it's it's what we all should be doing as Christians.
I would agree with that. I think that that's really where it's a proof of it. Like you can kind of prove that you're a Christian not by what you do. Like, you don't want to get into a bunch of theology, but
Right.
go to church, don't go to church, all of that to me doesn't make a difference. That doesn't make you a Christian. It's the spirit and the heart that is inside of you. God looks at our hearts,
Yeah.
and all of the fruits of the Spirit have to do with your heart and what's going on in your heart. And I just think that's a way of evaluating for yourself, where am I in my, walk with God? Am I able to practice all these things and experience them and see them?
Yeah, and he literally is looking for the fruit. And I was talking to somebody who's younger that I mentor last week, and she was asking about when Jesus kind of rebuked the fig tree. Why? And I told her a few things, and then we looked up a few things. She could kind of put it all together. But basically I said, this tree at that time was supposed to have fruit at the time of year, and it was just leafy. So it hadn't matured enough to actually produce what it was meant to do. And that was why he cursed it. And aren't we the same? Like, he gives us an amount of time to mature and to produce this fruit. And some of us are just leafy. So, and it's not that anyone's better than anyone else, but the fruit is what carries the new seed that perpetuates the next fruit for the next, the kingdom is just, that's how it grows.
Right. Absolutely.
So what are your thoughts on shifting perspective from concentrating on circumstances to calling out to God?
Well, that's a whole nother, the difference between the inner and the outer life. If I'm concentrating on all of my outer circumstances, I can really get off, I think. But if I am concentrating on God and calling out to him in my circumstances, it goes to the inner life, and where he is active in me and sustaining me and getting me through my outer circumstances.
So by calling out to him, you're trusting that he's kind of the permanent and the circumstance is the temporary.
Yes. Yeah.
Do you think that, and I'm going to ask you this because I like to ask sometimes people difficult questions. Do you think you're the lucky one? Do you think that praying for difficult people in our lives changes our hearts or their hearts, or both?
Oh, I think it's definitely both. I think it, or I should say, I think it can be both. I think for sure it changes our hearts. Praying for other people definitely can influence ourselves. And I think probably that's really why we should be doing it, or why God wants us to do it, or tells us to do it, is that it can change us. I think it all goes back to that same thing that we were talking about before. You can't fix people,
right.
and you can pray for them and support them. And usually if you are praying for someone, your heart will change towards them.
Yeah. I've had it happen for me.
Yeah.
And isn't that the ultimate kind of proof of love? Somebody who's difficult, praying for them.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
And then I find out they're not really as difficult as I thought they were after I
Right.
prayed for them.
Right. It's just a big perspective shift. It takes you well, it brings you right to the fruits of the spirit for that person, rather than your feelings for that person. If you're angry or frustrated or whatever is going on, I think it can bring you to the heart of Jesus for that person. And that is what will change me or you.
Yeah. I mean, how has praying for other people changed you, really? I think it changes all of us.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I think it just changes me and my relationship with God when I put people in front of him instead of me trying to solve a problem with a person. Praying for that person, I think, brings me and God and that person all together. So that changes me. It changes my perspective. It changes my heart towards the situation, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've had times where I've been praying for someone that I found to be difficult or frustrating or whatever the case may be. And as I've prayed for them, not only have I seen them in a different light because God loves them the same way he loves me, but I've also found out that maybe I'm difficult or I'm frustrating. And God will sometimes show me places that I need to fix in my own heart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a really good point.
Now, here's a question that I pretty much ask everyone because I just love the answers. They're always so, so good. If you could give your younger self some advice, what would it be?
Wow. My younger self needed a lot of advice. How to pick one thing that I would say.
You could say two.
I'll say a couple. Relax and have fun, Karen. Just have fun. You're not responsible for the whole world. You're just, responsible for you. And I think because of my birth order, the way when, I was the oldest daughter, I don't know why I took up on a lot of responsibility myself and continue to do that for everyone else in my life. And I've had to work very hard at not doing that. So if I had heard that as the younger me had heard that, maybe some of my life would have been a little bit different. I would have relaxed and had more fun. And then don't listen to the negative voices in your head. Just don't listen to them and listen to God's voice for you. And because none of them are negative, that he loves me, and just don't listen to the voices in the negative voices in my head.
Yeah. I was thinking back over some of the things that you said, and something from the very beginning, you had said that you always wrote poems when it came to things for your family, the people that you know the most and love the most. And, now you're turning these poems into books to reflect that same love out into the world for other people. And I was just wondering, why do you think God gave you poetry as a gift?
I think it fits with my personality, or just the way I see the world, the way I am in the world, the way I view the world. It's on a deeper level that is very hard to express verbally. And I think something about poetry and even music, like songs, how a song can just touch you so deeply.
Yeah.
There's something about, I don't know if it's the art of those things or what it is, but I think that they touch something that is in a very deep place. And I think that's why poetry for me has been my way of expressing, because I just can't quite put the words, even as I speak right now. I can't quite put the words to what I'm trying to say at a deep level. So I think poetry does that. And I live so much in my inner world, at the depths with God. And so I think trying to express that and help others do that, it's not always simple, but I think it comes across nicely in poetry.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I was wondering, since you do have such a deep faith and poetry is something that you're drawn to doing and producing, that's the way you tend to write when you're getting at your deepest feelings. Did you ever write a poem to God?
No, haven't. I journal almost every morning, and I've never done it that way. I've never done it in a poem form.
Really?
I just write. But I don't think if anybody sat and read any of those, that it would make a whole lot of sense.
Oh, I know. My journaling's crazy too.
Crazy.
Only God and I know what I'm saying. Yeah.
I know. They're not meant for others to read, but
No.
I think that's why I probably don't write poems to God. I'm just letting it all out there the way it is in me.
Yeah. Do you ever think you would?
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know. I know it's not something we talked about, but it's just striking me as we're talking that
Yeah, maybe.
it would probably be something other people would really get something out of too. But
Yeah.
it's like, you said that's like your deepest level place
Yeah.
to express yourself. I don't know. I'd be interested to read it.
Yeah, it's more like I feel like my deeper thoughts are hard to get out verbally, like
Yeah.
for other people, to express them to other people, and I think I can get them across better in a poem for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Where with God, I think when I'm talking to him, I'm not trying to get anything across. I'm just being myself. Like I'm just expressing myself in a way that he gets me. He totally gets me.
Oh, totally. But I mean, I'm thinking of like the Psalms. The Psalms are basically people expressing their most deepest emotions and feelings to God in a poetic way. So that's, I think, what made me think of it.
That's awesome. You've given me something new to think about. Maybe I'll try to do that sometime.
Okay, cool. Well, I just want to take a minute, Karen, to thank you for spending some time with us today. I'm so glad that I got a chance to meet you, to get to know you on a deeper level, and now to be able to kind of share you with the world, as many people as hear this.
That's awesome.
Is there any way that, other than your website, that people could help you out with getting your book out there?
Oh, yeah. You could share my Instagram with other people. Little Bird Press is my Instagram, at Little Bird Press, and my website. And, if you like the book, if you get the book and you really like it, or if you like the things that I'm sharing on Instagram, my Instagram is all about inspiring people to see, experience, and practice the fruits of the Spirit. So if you like what you're seeing there, share those things. I think it's just, share it with people. Just let people know about it if it helps you. Mm-hmm.
I will put your Instagram as well as your website address then in the show notes so people can take a look, and they should be able to do a direct link. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I'm looking for, I kind of want to see that poem now.
Oh, me too. I'm going to have to go spend some time thinking about that. I'll let you know what I come up with.
Well, thanks for sharing with us today. And I just hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Amanda. You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Hey, so I just want to thank you so much for spending your time with me. And I want to challenge you to go out today and to just take notice and to stop and really look around and find at least one good thing, one thing to be thankful for. If you do that today, you're going to find so many more things tomorrow without even trying. Because once you start, you begin to see what's always been there. And if you need a refill, you can come join me again for another cup. Make sure to subscribe and have an awesome day, and go be grateful.